Hey everybody, welcome to Field of Dreams on ACTN. My name is Steve David and I'm your host. Today I have a panel that will talk about 2020 in review as far as Trinidad football is concerned. Happy New Year to the viewers as well. Let me take time to introduce the panel. Right sitting next to me is Jefferson George. Welcome to Sir Jefferson.
Welcome, Steve. Thanks very much for being here. Best wishes for 2021 to you and the viewing public.
Had a good Christmas and New Year?
I'm not really a Christmas person, but always good with me.
But always good. Okay. You're above ground and breathing.
That's right.
Larry Joseph. Welcome to Set Larry.
Thank you, Steve. Happy New Year to all the viewers and my fellow panelists. I just want to say a shout out to Mr. Bobby Sukram. Called me over the vacation to wish me Merry Christmas and said he looks at the show and he loves looking at the show. So to Bobby, Happy New Year.
You're taking my idol, man, Bobby. Bobby is my boy from way back. But all right, good. Welcome to the set. And Anthony Clark, where have you been? Welcome to the set.
Thank you very much, Steve. It's always been a pleasure to be here on this set to talk about football and, in particular, Trinidad football.
Trinidad football. I hope we get to talk something about Trinidad football. There's a lot to talk about anyway. Year in review, viewers. You know, guys, it's been a rough 2020. It went by in a blur, and our football shut down completely. And so I want to break it up into 3 or 4 phases. Like first we had a new regime came on to run Trinidad football, and then in 3 months, the first quarter, let's do it in quarters. The first quarter, it was the normalization suspension. We need to normalize or whatever this Trinidad football. So they bring a group. And then the second quarter is all the issues with you can't do that, and the court issues come into play. And then that was decided around the third quarter of the year where, all right, you guys are suspended, and came back off a suspension, and now the normalization committee is implemented, right? So let's start from the top, man. Let's start from the top where what's the president's name?
William Wallace.
William Wallace regime was enforced. Mm-hmm. And they got 3 months. And they brought in the normalization committee. They gave them 3 months, and they brought in the normalization committee. We get a chance in hindsight now to review how we thought about it now that we know a bigger picture. Let's discuss that and see what we think was our thought process on the right track, or maybe we could say, I was wrong. I was wrong about some of the things I said. This is right. So I want to throw that out, and let's talk about that first. Was it right in the sense of bringing in a group after 3 months to overthrow the old group? And Jefferson.
All right. Well, when I heard the topic, I thought this show would be a 15-minute show. Yeah, review.
We didn't have much to review.
But seeing that you've given us a framework to go with, you're asking if it was the right decision. And
in hindsight.
In hindsight.
Yes.
Hindsight is all we have right now, really.
Right.
But I stick to the beliefs, right? And it comes from having a new regime come in. We had optimism. Whether that optimism was misplaced or not, I think looking back, we would have had justification for feeling that, okay, we're going to go somewhere with football. We weren't sure. Decisions were made. I'm going to keep it to the field now, right, where there were projections as to how we're going to begin to address football, because that's one of the things in the last, for the longest while, we have been in constant decline. The national senior team was not really performing at a level that us as Trinidadians were proud of. The youth teams weren't as active as they used to be in years gone by. The female program was in real tatters. And I think that in that sense, there was optimism that things would begin to turn around on the field of play. Obviously, there were other issues pulling at that, which was administrative-wise. That is where the normalization came in, and FIFA had to intervene and so on. But I still believe that had it not been for those interventions, obviously we're talking now in a COVID time, so basically football really would not have been able to be played on the field as much. But those waves that we were forced to ride, I think we would not have had to go through those.
You see, you notice how he avoided the question he didn't say, but Clarky would. I know Clarky would.
He leaving it for Clarky.
We have Clarky here. I need to go.
Clarky, but was it right? What do you think now?
Clarky here, my guesser.
Because I think you had thought it was a good and a proper decision. Do you still feel that way?
Yes, I do, because you see what people leave out are the facts, all right? Mm-hmm. The facts of the matter is after 100-year history of football in Trinidad and Tobago, we owned nothing. This was the first time that an administration gave Trinidad and Tobago football something. People were not following football. All they were listening to as Trinidadians was the bacchanal and the commerce and so on, because bad news sells, good news does not sell. I was involved in the football. The administration that was there previously was bringing down the debt that they met. Mm-hmm. The administration that was there, our funding from FIFA was cut off because the previous administration before that did not do audited financials. The new administration, the David John Williams administration, came in, they got an auditor, they cleaned up the books, they started back to collect FIFA funding, they made arrangements with FIFA and the government to get a piece of land to build a hotel, and that funding was for an income generation project. It was not funding that they moved away to do something else from football. Our teams have, the performance of our teams, and I will address what Jefferson has said, began declining since 2007. Not recently, not in the last 4 years.
Right.
It began declining since our World Cup campaign. After that, we started to decline. And it just continued in decline. Football is a business, and you need money to run football. Everywhere else in the world where you have big fans and so on, the fans fund football from TV rights. Trinidad and Tobago is not so fortunate, so we depend on handouts either from FIFA or the government because our fans don't come to football. And that is what you use to promote the performance of football, bring back the good players, send them on tours and this and that, and that's how footballers improve from playing football. So if you play against your normal competition in your own country, you won't improve. You have to go out and play against tougher competition and so on to really improve on the international standard. Yes, you'll improve locally, but you won't be able to compete on the international standard. So football needs money. People forget when England did not make the World Cup. It took England 8 years before they could make another World Cup. What did England do? We do not go into the depths of these things to understand it. England, David John Williams was following the English model when they failed to make the World Cup. They built a home of football, They started concentrating on the youths from the under 14, under 16 level. That's where the Sterlings and the Rashfords came from. They did not concentrate on the old guys that was there. You had to revamp the whole system to get what you really wanted. And that is what the previous administration were doing with the support of FIFA. FIFA agreed with how they were going to bring down their debt, and they agreed with the program, right, that they had prescribed.
Okay, but
This new administration now,
wait. We into John Williams' regime. We're not into that.
well, no, I had
we
to give you
into
the...
why the normalization.
Right,
thing.
so I had to give you the precept of,
Well, we know that.
of that.
Yes.
With the new administration coming in, they increased the debt of the TTFA 100-fold, with no avenue of where money was going to come from to fund that type of program that they wanted to fund. They brought back all the national teams. They brought back all the coaching staff. They offered a whole ton of salaries. They offered a marketing director $25,000 a month. Where was that money coming from to pay these guys? Peter Miller. Where was this money coming from to pay these salaries? With no football, no fans, where was this going to come from? Of course, FIFA. So FIFA obviously decides now, okay, you know what? We need to step in. We agreed with how the program was going to be reduced. We understood that they had a plan of using the hotel to subsidize their accommodation cost, which was between $4 and $6 million each year for national teams. So that would be $4 or $6 million less that we would have had to expend. The William Wallace people came in and shut that down. So where was that money going to come from to fund this massive program that they had decided that they were going to run? And that is why the normalization committee came.
So you agree, and you didn't say that.
And I just explained why I agree.
Okay, all right. Larry?
Well, if we looking at it from hindsight, they say hindsight is 20/20 vision. So it means then we would have seen what had happened and unfolded. So we are better informed now at this stage. So it may affect some of the decisions that we would have taken at an earlier period. The main thing we're looking at here is, do I agree with the normalization coming in at the time they did? My answer to that still remains no, even in hindsight. Right? I had said on a previous program that FIFA and the new regime were having discussions. All right? And then we wake up one morning and hear the normalization committee has been placed into Trinidad football. So my obvious question is, how did this happen? What went wrong in the conversation that FIFA thought they had to, almost like a thief in the night, foster this normalization committee upon Trinidad and Tobago football, right? So in the manner in which it was done, I totally disagree. In hindsight, when we look at some of the things that that new United TTFA was doing, I could understand why they could have been reason enough to bring them in. But again, I'm asking myself the question, if the United TTFA, if I and Jeff discussing every day, we're talking about plans forward, and Jeff tell me earlier, Larry, we move that ball from there and we put it in, and FIFA said, no, we can't do that because X, Y, Z. You understand what I mean? And then Jeff gets up one morning and realizes that I bring Steve to take his place. Obviously, Jeff will be wondering what take place here, because we talking, you know. It's not like if we're not talking. And that is the problem I had with the normalization committee. Yes, we could point to grounds where we could say, this is the reason why they came in. And they would be solid grounds. But I always had a problem in the way they were introduced into our local game. I'm not taking away from some of the things that Tony said about the United TTFA approach, because I and all, even not even with hindsight, when I saw some of the things they were doing, I was like, come on. You accuse the previous administration of certain wrongs, and you turn around and doing the same thing. So I am not exonerating them from the nonsense that they did. But we're talking about the introduction of the normalization committee, and I do not agree still how they came in.
Agreed. I think that's
you agree?
No, with what Larry said, I think is not for me, because you asked about in hindsight. My views does not change. In hindsight, it does not change. No.
Okay, well,
nobody's
views here has changed.
No. But I disagree with both of them. Because from day one, you see, y'all, and to use Larry's example, right, how they are talking and what happened after that. This United TTFA showed that they were dishonest in their communication from the start. With the Nike deal, with the Junior Sammy, with the contract, well, we now know that how much dishonesty, with how much the new coach was going to be earning and all that. So you are depending on the communication from United TTFA to say that we were communicated and this was the discussion, and you are basing your analysis on what they said was truthful. But FIFA is not a mad organization. FIFA is a structured organization. And FIFA would have known exactly what was being discussed and exactly what they were doing. They were arranging the AVEC deal. You feel that something like that would not be known to FIFA. And that AVEC deal was that AVEC deal was a terrible deal. That would have even added more debt to the TTFA. We had to spend $2 million US before we get one free jersey. So FIFA would have known all these things, and therefore, that in itself, you are basing your analysis on what the United TTFA was saying was honest, was just, and well, if that was the case, how these mad people just come in and take over?
That's what I'm saying, and I still, as I'm saying, agreed with my decision. Steve, if I am pulled over for a broken taillight, I don't get the death penalty, right? And that's I'm not saying that it didn't have, gross misdealings and issues. If I'm pulled over for a broken taillight, you don't go to the gallows for that. The remedy did not match up till now, even in hindsight, what we know, what was done. So again, your penalty or your punishment, even as FIFA having to make an intervention as they did, and I'm not saying that they didn't have to, but is the extent to which they intervene just and fair? I still believe no.
And we're going to take a break, but when we come back, I want you guys to think about this. It was FIFA came in after 3 months and do what they had to do and suspend and all this thing. And since then, they had more over 3 months that the normalization committee was implemented, and nothing has been done yet, Clarky. When we come back, I want you to start off with why, and how come that wasn't the 3 months they put those guys over the coals, and now they're sitting here and nothing is going on. Viewers will be right back after the break.
It's clear for anybody who's been paying attention that the issues that have plagued Trinidad and Tobago football was administrative.
Okay, welcome back, viewers. Okay, Tony, this one coming at you to start off, right? Not coming at you for no other reason but to start off. Okay. FIFA gave the normalization committee 3 months. And in 3 months, they
Not the
send it
normalization.
the normalization committee.
Not
Right?
the-
You
right.
mean the
sorry.
Right,
United
right,
TTFA.
United
Yeah.
TTFA 3 months, and they send in the normalization committee. Now, since all that has happened, and now they decide they suspend it and they lift the suspension and all that, and now it's been more than 3 months and nothing has been done. For our football, we have nothing going on. We don't even know what's going on.
All right. So let me
Tell me.
correct some of your statements first to begin.
Okay,
because
correct.
it was the United TTFA that was in place for 3 months, just about 3.5 months,
Yes.
before FIFA implemented the normalization
Right.
committee. And that was done, and you realize who they brought in. They brought in a businessman, not the so-called football administrator.
Okay.
Football is a business. And if a business does not have income or revenue, it cannot operate.
Okay.
You now have to revamp your business model, and you sometimes in doing that, your store remains closed. Employees are laid off. You have minimal staff. Just restocking or counting how much stock you have, seeing the value of your stock, and then deciding the way forward.
Okay.
The simple-minded football public and people and administrators, they don't see that in it. They just understand. And that is why our football is in the way it is. Because of who has been running our football for all these years. And the people that are involved in football, they just think that a coach's license is all that is required to be involved in football. They don't get involved in business aspect of football, understand business administration and so on. Our football needs a total revamp. That's why I use the English as an example and indicated it took them 8 years to reach back to the international level. They went back, they focused on the youth, they revamped their organization, they revamped their whole national program, and then they came back and saw results 8 years later.
So what are we doing now?
So what we are doing is that it is out there that we are over $50 million in debt. We are saying that, or some of us are saying, that the performance of the national teams is what is important. I am saying dealing with that $50 million debt is what is important to eventually get performance on the field.
So what are we doing about that 50
So
million?
that is what is happening now. The normalization committee is checking all the boxes, normalizing things, reducing expenditure, because when you have that kind of debt, within expenditure, it continues to rise. Reducing expenditure, pulling down the national program so that we can deal with that for future performance. You have to normalize it. So only good things can come out from the normalization committee because they are backed by the people who are spending the money. And that is what is important at this stage in our football.
I'll let you guys take a piece of that.
Yeah, that is a good point. Now, what you were saying, we are going into the second part of the year in review. That period where what mostly went on was litigation, right, between the FIFA, the Normalization Committee, and the outgoing administration. Now, Clarky made the point about the model and the persons who have entered to normalize and so on. And again, it is clear for anybody who's been paying attention that the issues that have plagued Trinidad and Tobago football was administrative, right? I don't think we have legitimate arguments about that. That is clear. It is not a problem that started last 4 years. That has always been an issue. Our funding is external. All of it. Except when we had opportunities to go to World Cups, when you have marketing opportunities for corporate Trinidad to jump on, they did. That's how corporate Trinidad operates, right? Not just corporate Trinidad, actually. That's how a business person will think about it. What is in this for me? And football at ground level, there is nothing really for businessmen in it, all right? The persons who have put their money in, who have invested in football, are people who actually like football. And I mean, we have to be thankful that they stayed invested, and that's how football was able to survive up till this time. So the part of Trinidad and Tobago needing to fix or address that administrative function is clear, and I agree 100% with that. Where I disagree is you cannot choose one or the next, right? Football is the product that we are attempting to sell, that we are attempting to market. If I am going to say that let me fix my business model, let me fix my business plan without having a product, what you are going to get coming to the table will never be sufficient because there is not a viable product at the end of it.
Who said that there's no product? Who said that they're only doing one thing?
No, I'm saying that's what you mentioned. You said.
No, I didn't mention that. I mentioned that the youth, they were concentrating on youth development.
Well, let me go through. Yeah, let me go through because you're saying that is where you're going. You have to be able to walk and chew gum at the same time. You have to build the both trains. The emphasis here, he's saying that they're going at the English model, right, where they put certain things in place, and within 8 years, they were able to rebuild it. One of my criticisms, even with our professional league, was that we attempt to cookie cut, look at other systems, how they are set up, and try to do it here. Trinidad is not Europe. I don't think any European model can work wholesale in our environment, right? It's a smaller economy. It's an economy that is, again, you will need outside help, basically, whether it be government, FIFA, we've not been able to depend on large wholesale buy-in from corporate Trinidad and Tobago, and that will continue to be so.
Why? Why?
Why what?
Well,
Why is it that corporate Trinidad and Tobago
Because
is not invested in football?
No, well, there are many reasons. I think the main one would be there is an administrative problem that has caused corruption, one, right? That is what...
So the word is trust.
Trust.
Right. Trust.
No.
Why did David John Williams,
hold on.
with his W connection, was able to get corporate sponsorship in his club to move his club up?
No, but hold on, Placky. We jumping the gun. I'll get there, right? Because at the end of the day, we're talking about two different things. We are talking about a club versus a national program.
No, we're talking about corporate
privately owned.
sponsorship.
But just keep in mind, doing your thing, that maybe the normalization committee is working on the sponsors, like he said, to get rid of the 50 million.
And that's why I'm getting at. So
and that might come out.
No, but and that is why I'm saying
Okay, go
that
ahead.
part of it, because the normalization plan, right, will be, we're not privy to anything that's going on now. That's why I'm saying I'm not judging that part of it. The normalization committee is in place, and they have work to be done. That work is mainly administrative.
Right.
That is a function. When they have a plan, they say, okay, we've covered 50% of the debt, right? So 25 million
is not the case. You're going down the wrong. The normalization committee is to deal with all of football, not just administrative.
Tony, the point that you stressed on was administrative.
No. I did not stress on administrative alone. I indicated that what they did was, what they're doing is dealing with the administrative while deciding what to do with the football. And they have decided to focus on youth development rather than a product that they can't sell, which is the senior team and the...
But
Well, okay.
saying that,
That
but
this
we're
point-
saying that they're not doing nothing on the field.
Well, this is what I'm saying. So if you, no, hold on,
That's all.
Placky, and that's what I'm saying. I get that. Now, the point of them not doing anything on the field at this point is not their fault because there was no football being played, right? So, and that's why I'm saying I don't want to get there yet because we cannot judge that. We cannot judge that because there was no football being played, right? So, and the only team in Trinidad, and the only team that is training right now is not a youth team. It's the senior team, right? Which we're going to have in the condition. So that's what I'm saying. We can't try to surmise what the plan for football is. Neither at this point there is enough information in the public space to say that they are addressing the major problem which Clarky identified is which that 50 or how much ever $1 million debt. Those are things that are yet to be, I think, fully exhausted.
I will let you get into it, but Clark.
I don't fly with
But we're saying we have a professional league who hasn't touched a ball in a year. We didn't say nothing but kids. Let's talk about our pro league, and because all over the world they're playing football. So they should at least, based on what Jefferson's saying as well, you're doing all your groundwork and trying to reduce the debt, but they should at least have some plan to restart the professional
Well, it's
league
not them, it's right. Is the COVID regulations that has stopped this
exactly,
since March.
Exactly.
all over the world are playing football.
Our COVID regulations are right by our government. It's not by.
Remember, we are guided by the Ministry of
That's right.
Health and the protocol
It's not
procedures.
TTFA.
Okay, so let's say we're
So
not going
even if they was playing football in Grenada, doesn't mean that we could play here. Our government has said no contact sports whatsoever. So even if the pro league teams were training and COVID hit, it had to shut down.
So let's say
That has nothing to do with the normalization committee.
Let's say that's true. What is the plan for football? Period. We should be planning, like you said.
Correct.
So let's be talking planning. We ain't playing. We planning. What is our plan for football?
Let me gain my 2 rounds
All right,
as a
get it.
flyweight, and then
Okay.
we'll leave it to the heavyweight to knock out one another, right?
Go ahead with yours. Yeah.
Well, I want to stick to the question you asked originally, which is Wallace regime got 3 months, and then since that the normalization came in, they've had almost 10 to 11 months. And you don't seem to be seeing anything in that length of span compared to the 3 months that Wallace them had.
Okay.
But I have to agree with Clarky in that the normalization committee responsibility is administrative.
Right.
Right? And administrative mean, if you look at the head of the normalization committee, I don't think he was exposed too much where football is concerned before he was asked to. So he would definitely have to go learn some things about the entire. So I could understand that would take time, obviously. And then our own situation with the football was in such a mess that he would have to be careful who he listens to because he could get all kind of crazy signals. So I have no problem in what I would call information blackout for a little period. For a period. The problem I had with them after a little while is that there seemed to be a total blackout. Because if FIFA brings a normalization committee in the country, everything else that was there before is gone. So everybody in Trinidad is sitting down in their homes and waiting for an update from this normalization committee. I don't think that the information was forthcoming, even if you had to do periodical news releases, to just say something, so that in the absence of information, the void had to be filled. In Trinidad, you go follow it with rumor. That is just the culture we have. So that's one thing I had negative about the normalization committee. They didn't give us enough update. As a matter of fact, some of the stakeholders, like the coaches and some of the committees in TTFA, said that the normalization committee was not talking to them. And they are the stakeholders of the game. I don't think the constitution at the TTFA has been thrown aside. So there are some things that even the normalization committee has to abide by according to the constitution. You understand? So, having said that, because of the state of local football, the Pro League was non-existent. The Super League was going through their own traumas, right? So there is some kind of leeway I would give to the normalization committee in trying to wet their feet in finding out some of the matters underlying and otherwise. so they'll be more informed as to what would be the best approach.
I think one thing that we can say that the normalization committee was able to accomplish was the payment of the coaches, right, who were contracted during this period, and also payment to the players, right, who had outstanding salaries, some of the national players
But
and so on. From that.
But let me bring to your remembrance, because we leave out important things. The United TTFA was challenging the normalization committee with who had access to the bank account. And the bank froze from anybody being able to access the account until this was sorted out. And that court matter went on for months. That, I don't know if you all know about that.
No,
of course,
that is public information.
The United TTFA, with their challenges, they were the ones that shut Ride Football down. Because they were challenging that they were the elected thing, and they had to run football. The General Assembly of football, they had the power to tell the United TTFA what to do. They were silent, half of them behind the United TTFA, and we blaming the normalization committee. The normalization committee hands were tied.
No, nobody.
They didn't even have a bank account to access.
No, I don't think there was blame ascribed.
I don't think
anybody blamed.
What statement could they have come out and made when the stakeholders of Trinidad football were not saying anything? The General Council of the TTFA were the ones to either say that they recognize the normalization committee based on the constitution,
Right.
or the United TT, and they kept silent.
Which they didn't do. Not just kept silent.
So the normalization committee was only taking instructions from FIFA on what to do.
Well, this is what I'm saying. No, but you're touching on a good point, because that was one of the problems of administrative again, because the board had no clue what to do. They could have removed them.
Yeah, they asked for money. They asked for money. They asked for those guys to be paid, and they wasn't paid. And because FIFA says, we ain't giving you no money, and they say, you can't touch our account because we're still that body. So let's take a break. When we come back, breathe, guys. Don't get uptight. Breathe a little bit. When we come back, we will get into this a little bit more. Viewers, we'll be right back.
For far too long, we have these old farts running football to the ground because of their selfish interest.
Okay, welcome back, viewers. Okay, guys, you guys have totally destroyed my structure.
That's a good coach.
So what we're going to do is we're going to open discussion. We talk about anything within that as far as, football is concerned, or FIFA Normalization Committee is concerned for 2020, because we went from first quarter to last quarter. So now we have second and third quarter to deal with, which is suspension and resolution for the suspension and all that. So I'm opening it up. Let's go down any road, Clarky.
Well, I agreed with the suspension. FIFA had to come in with a strong arm if it is that football in Trinidad and Tobago had to be normalized. Our history of administration has proven that we can't get it right. And the start of this new administration proved that they were going in a totally wrong direction as well. Football has to be about income generating to manage itself. We cannot be beggars. We have to find some way to bring the fans back to football. Corporate sponsors are willing to come into football because there are incentives for taxes for investing in football. Millions of dollars. If you invest certain millions into football, you get those millions as a tax credit from your business. So corporate sponsors not really putting out, the government is giving them a right of tax. But what they want to see is some people that are credible in there running the football. Just like politics, I would like to see the educated youth footballer get into administration. For far too long, we have these old farts running football to the ground because of their selfish interests. I would like to see that we have a very organized players association. We have a very organized coaches association negotiating terms and conditions with whichever administration is there. That is the only way football can move forward. We cannot be doing the same things over and over again and expect a different result. And that is why football has to be mashed up. You cannot expect performance on the field if you have bad organization, because that is as a result of the leadership. The performance on the field is as a result of the leadership that is there. So football has to mash up. That's why I keep going back to the English model. England now is coming back up. Back in the day, England did not even have too many foreign players. Look at the English league now. Back to the glory days where everybody used to watch English football. So that is my input in terms of how we can move forward with the football. Forget about performance on the field right now, because we will continue going down that road and have continued mediocre performance. Because Trinidad football is not that we're supposed to make World Cup every time World Cup come around. It's hit and miss even with the CFU league. So if we want to be somebody in football in CONCACAF, we have to start over. Because if we continue and you continue about the mediocre performance that we talking about here, not seeing performance, and what performance? What have we done in 100 years of football? Make one World Cup and get kicked out in the first.
But tell me what you think. Give me a quick forecast.
Make more than that, Clacky.
A forecast on what you think will be done or what have to be done. Quick forecast.
Well, he don't tell you what has to be done.
What has to be done first and foremost, for me, this present crop of senior footballers, and I am counting everybody over 17, because we take too long to produce right, a senior footballer in the first place.
Okay.
Right? Let them continue earning for the TTFA. Going ahead in the competitions, playing overseas, seeing what competitions they can make, playing overseas games. That is an earner for the TTFA to help continue to take down it. Let us start focusing on our youths for a future generation and properly have our football structured in a way that I just explained.
And we don't know what that structure is going to be. What do you guys think the structure should be for Trinidad football? To be honest with you, I think that is one of our biggest problems.
Yeah, that's, for me, I think, and I think I've seen the same thing with Clacky, but we got to be able to do the both at the same time.
Okay.
If it's football I'm selling, I can't think about, let me organize my books, and I don't have a football to sell, right? I need to, yes, have proper books, and be able to get investment and so on, but I must make sure.
At what level? Because you
at
are
every
saying,
level.
I'm saying only administration. I am saying concentrate on youth.
No.
That's all I'm saying.
That's the way, and that's why I use, we cannot pick a model that does not reflect us, right? I wouldn't even consider England, right? Panama, who is right here in our hemisphere, they don't have a pro league. But since 2009, they have qualified, right, for 3 Youth World Cups, right? Their senior team qualified for a World Cup. And they have done it without a pro league, right? And I think we've been trying to do things that we see in Europe, things that we see in places that have way more resources. If you don't have access to that type of resources, you have to have a plan first. A plan that can cater for doing something within the resources that you have until the resources grow. I can't have a plan to spend $1 billion if I have $10 in my pocket, right? After what am I going to do at $10?
Give me an idea of what kind of system.
Right, let me first go back. Like I said, we qualified for 1 World Cup. We've qualified for the under-20 World Cup under Bertel Sinclair.
No, we talk about senior
Right?
football.
No,
Sorry.
and these are youth, and I was saying, so we're forgetting about the youth. We qualified for that. We qualified for Egypt under 20. We qualified for Korea under 17. 3 times a country of 1.3 million qualified for international World Cup at youth level. We've done it.
That's what I'm saying, Jeff, that
Right?
you concentrate on the youth.
We've done it. Well, that's what I'm saying. And
Yes.
for me, I'm not apart from that. We have to do that in order to grow and become better. Right. So for me, there is a serious issue where it relates to our top level football. Right. If we are to encourage young people to play football, we have to fix our top level football. Why? That is what is going to inspire them to be involved in football. The reason youngsters are going into cricket is because they see the success, they see the pliability of people like Pollard and Bravo and these guys. That creates motivation. So while we're saying, yes, the youths are important, there has to be some sort of stability that has to be given to our senior program. And I'm not even calling it Pro League, because I don't think it has to be a quote-unquote Pro League. Because that top flight, whatever we are going to create to have football being played in communities where they can be connected to a live stream of investment, people who sell, people who participate, people who patronize, that they can create, right, a business model within the communities to allow the teams to sell. Jamaica, they don't have a quote-unquote pro league, but they are able to command full stadiums, right? They're able to sell merchandise from the clubs because the clubs are connected to communities. We have to go back to some type of community-based top-level football. The youngsters in these communities will be able to go out and see people who they know play, right? Back in the day, that is how it was. That's how I got interested in football, going and watching Clarkey and Michael Maurice. That's how I know I wanted to goalkeep. Right?
Well, you want to be like Lucky.
It didn't have to happen in them time.
Right? And if we can do that, and it's going to take a lot. We're not anywhere close to doing that. It will take time. Right? It will take time to set up this. And again, I don't think we should buy any models wholesale. We have to look and see what is going to work for Trinidad and Tobago and implement based on that.
All right, let Larry tell us what that model is going to be.
I wish I had the answer in my pocket. I'd be able to just give whoever is in charge and we have a presto, a successful structure. I would lean heavily in what has been tried and tested and proven in terms of back in the day when, like Jeff said, and this is in terms of the playing structure, the team structure, where you would have National League and you would have the zones, right? But, I mean, these things don't exist in a vacuum. The administration must be strong. I totally agree with Clarkey in what he said in terms of the administrators and some of the ills of the past ones and going forward, what we need to have in terms of qualification to improve on what was before, right? And especially probably getting more ex-players who have the knowledge, whether it be on an academic level or just have enough football knowledge that can add value to our discussion, right? That is important. I also agree with him on a critical point that is something that I have realized. Trinidadians believe because of past success that we must always have instant success. We had to wake up and smell the coffee. We don't have those quality of players anymore. So it means then the success will not come, right? So we have to have a structure that would take into consideration where we are as a nation in terms of the quality that we have. And then drill down to the youths so that you begin the development at that level. You know what that means? You may spend a lot of dry years, as Clarkey said. But it's the price you have to pay if you want to leave a legacy with a strong standard and we could get back the glory days but the glory days cannot happen overnight. So our structure must involve, and while I'm saying structure, we must have the leagues running, because you need to have football playing. That's what it is. As Jeff says, it's a product. Football is a product, 11 versus 11 that has to play, right? I had never really liked the format of the Pro League.
Me neither.
Because I always thought it was just trying to say we have a Pro League.
Correct.
You understand what I mean? Right? So we need to get back to something that speaks to the reality of our situation. Teams affiliated with communities.
Correct.
If you have to play games in community settings and that kind of thing, we grew up with that.
Correct.
Steve, you grew up in that.
Yeah.
10,000 people in Jamaica. As soon as we go into this National League and well, let me say the Pro League. The Pro League and my team going and playing us in Larry Gomes, and the people in Arima used to have a game. So our structure must connect teams with communities. And the development of the players, all of this happening together simultaneously, is important. So down into the communities with the community coach, yes, you want to make sure they get certified and that kind of thing. But we can't always depend on certification all the time, because there are some people who can't sit down in a classroom and pass a test. But they could go on and field and coach them fellas properly. So we must think about that also. And then we must cater for a gradual improvement of the player product, and making sure, learning from our lessons from the administrative side, I think, as Clarky said, that history of our administration is poor. We have to improve, because as I agree with Clarky, as the administration goes, the football goes. You cannot have the administration being one way and the football no way. The administration is the one that will say to the product, this is as fast as we will progress, or this is as far as we will regress.
One thing I want to bring to Jeff's attention, because he keeps saying that he don't agree with any international model. Every single international model is community-based. Luton Town, Manchester United, Blackburn, Columbus
City.
Crew,
Carry the
Milan.
community name.
Every single successful international league is community-based. And we went outside of that to form a pro league that anybody could. So when you say that you don't agree with bringing and then we have to find our unique thing, that is what works. Community-based football is what works. We didn't go and follow any other system. We choose our own system.
No, Clarky.
What system did we follow?
That is what I'm talking about when I say the Pro League, right? The Pro League is fashioned in terms of the way we want to put games, the way we want to structure a season based on an international model. Obviously, it's disconnected from...
Which international model?
No, what I'm saying, that's how we play. We play like a European club. We want to have teams. All right, let me break it down for you this way. The biggest thing, and that is what I'm coming to, the thing that feeds these organisms, right? Teams, clubs, is the community.
Correct.
So what we've done in terms of an economic model, we have teams and we say this is a pro team. Everybody here is a full-time player. They have a salary from the club, and that is the model of professionalism outside. Here, if it is that if we don't have the type of economy to sustain that, which we do not, you have to change the model. We like to think that we have a pro league and we're paying players $3,000.
We all agree we need to change the model.
Well, no, but this is what I'm saying. Clarky is saying, how do I say that we are using an international model? This is the way we are using an international model.
Because
now, I mentioned Panama and places like El Salvador and stuff, who, again, they have a mixed model where you have some players who are full-time and you have some players who are part-time, because the amount of the budget I'm working with, I'll have to pay low salaries to all these players who wouldn't be able to see about themselves properly, right? When you all played, there were players who had full-time contracts, and then there were players
So
who would
we have it in
mixed
the
in.
Super League. The Super
No, what
League
I'm saying,
does exactly what we're saying we should be
Right.
doing.
So you can have a model with teams there are teams that are professional, Iceland, all these places, right? And they're in Europe. They have players who you have there, the best players will always rise to the top in that model, right? But at the end of the day, we have to find a way economically to make sure that whatever we do is sustainable. Right now, the model is not sustainable.
Okay. And I would have the last word, guys. We decided we need a stronger structure, or a strong, not structure, but a strong administration and a better structure, right? So how is that going to happen? For our administration, they need to figure that out. But we need, and the public need to be informed. Gentlemen, I thank you guys for being here. I appreciate you as usual, Clarky, Larry, and Jefferson. Appreciate you. ACTN, thanks for the opportunity. We do have a Facebook page, you can check us out, and we do have an email address, leadersuniversity@gmail.com, where you can drop us a line. The show's ended.